The truth is, rarely are there only two sides to an argument. Most of the time, there is a third side to an argument, some third solution that you've not considered yet. And sometimes there's more than just three sides to an argument. And today, I've noticed, especially a lot of people, especially younger people, they only imagine that an argument can only have two sides. It's always a binary choice. It's always A or B. It's always black or white. It's always true or false, left or right. Right? It's just a binary choice. You've got two choices, and that's all there is. They rarely consider that there could be third choices to anything. And this is something that wasn't always the case. When I was younger, especially, you would often hear people answer any question like, "Hey, DT, is Linux a great operating system?" And then I might answer it, yes and no, right? That was a common answer. Yes and no, not yes or no, right? Yes and no, because if you really think about some of this stuff, it's the right answer, right? The right answer is it's both yes and no, right? There's a third path somewhere in there. You can think of it in terms of, when somebody asks you, "Hey, is it day or night outside?" Well, it's both day and night, right? Somewhere in the world is always, day and night, somewhere all the time, somewhere on the globe, right? But here's the thing. Most people are so narrow-minded, right? They only see things through their eyes, through their viewpoint, their worldview. Basically, it would be like if somebody asked me, "Hey, is it day or night outside?" Well, I'm only going to look out the window at my house, right? And go look out the window. And if it's either day or night, I'm going to say, yeah, it's day or night, right? But I don't think of it in a bigger way, right? In a global kind of way. Obviously, it's both day and night. And what's really crazy about the times we live in now is you're almost shunned if you don't take one of these binary choices. Like if somebody asks you a question and they give you two answers, two possible answers. That's the only two possible answers you can give. If you refuse to give either one of the two answers that they demand that you give, you are viewed as something less than human, right? Like you're not playing the game right, DT. And the reason they get mad at you is because you actually, when somebody asks me a choice and, I consider it, I really consider it, and the two possible choices they give me don't make sense to me, I'm going to go a different route. It's obvious that I took time to actually think it through. I wasn't mechanical. I wasn't some automaton that just blindly made a choice, right? But most people live their life doing exactly that. They're unconscious, mechanical people that just make these choices without any real thought. And when they see somebody that doesn't do that, it kind of highlights their inadequacies, and then they get mad at that person, right? This is very common, but this is a habit that you've got to start developing. You've got to actually start wanting to actually understand everything, understand all sides to any argument, to any debate. And this is something most people don't actually want to do. Most people don't want to understand all sides of an argument. They don't even want to understand their side of an argument. They just make a choice and they stick with it. They don't really want to understand. They don't want to deep dive into it because that requires some effort, and it also requires sometimes exploring avenues of life, and especially avenues of themselves, of their own psyche, right, of their own emotions and things like that, right, that they don't want to do. But this is something, if you want to grow as an individual, and you should want to grow as an individual, because if you grow as an individual, if you become a better person, society as a whole becomes better, because obviously society is made up of individuals. So all of us as individuals should want to be a better individual, and that becomes with better understanding. One of the best things you can do with any argument is find a partner that you disagree with, right? Whether it be on politics or religion or whatever it happens to be, go find somebody and argue with them, right? Go find somebody that, for example, maybe you're a free software zealot and you know somebody that hates the whole free and open source software ideology. They like proprietary software and they can't stand free software at all. Go find somebody to argue with, except here's the trick. Here's the thing you need to do. Go debate them as if you're them, right? You argue for proprietary software or against free and open source software, and let them argue for free and open source software. And this is something that will be eye-opening to you, because immediately you will understand their position better. They will understand your position better. But it's not just that. You will also understand your position better, right? You will actually be better armed with that opinion that you have, even if it doesn't change. You will at least know more than you did. Or, religious discussions. You often see people get really crazy about religious topics. You see a lot of people that are militant atheists, right? And for whatever reason, they don't like Christian people. They have all these negative opinions of people that are Christians, right? And then Christians sometimes have very negative opinions of some of these militant atheist people, right? Well, go find, if you're an atheist, you probably have a lot of Christian friends and family, right? Go find one that wants to argue this stuff with you. And then again, switch sides. You argue as if you're a Christian. Let them argue as if they're you as the atheist. And again, you will come away better understanding the Christian viewpoint if you're an atheist, or the atheist viewpoint if you're a Christian. And this is something most people, especially today, I don't think most people would do, but this was commonplace when I was growing up in high school and college. This was a common kind of activity. You got a political friend that you disagree with, you're a liberal, they're a conservative. Again, debate and switch sides, argue passionately for the other side of argument. And again, you'll learn far more about the other side of the argument because you never really considered it. But it goes beyond that. You'll know more about your side of the argument, because honestly, you never really considered your side of the argument until now either. But getting back to, there's usually more than just two sides to an argument. When you get into these debates with people, especially when you switch roles and you debate the other side, you will often realize, hey, as I'm debating this side of the argument that I normally wouldn't, I'm starting to understand their position. I see where they're coming from. And sometimes you will be like, you know what? They've got a point here. But you know what? The position I hold, I've also got a point here. You start finding some weird middle grounds. And sometimes you find totally different paths to go down. And sometimes by doing this exercise, you will find a third side to the argument, again, that you've never considered. And then you start realizing that most things in life are not these black and white binary choices. This is something, again, I think a lot more people need to consider. And I think the world would be a better place, especially right now with the craziness that's going on outside. I think more people need to consider all possible choices to every debate. Anyway, peace, guys.